Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And tonight on Cool Your Heels with Lillian, her two special guests are Ginny, Petit, and Joey, her daughter. And Ginny wrote a book called Inside Suzie, which is a book about her daughter who was disabled. And Joey, short for Joanna, is the illustrator of the book. So,
Great.
good evening, ladies. How are you doing tonight?
We're doing well. Thank you. Thank you for
you.
having us.
Oh, I'm delighted. I am delighted to have you both. So, when you wrote your book, Inside Suzie, did you know what kind of illustrations you were going to add to your mom's book?
Oh, me. I didn't. I wanted them to look kind of lifelike, and I wanted them to look like Suzie. I wanted people that knew her to be able to see that it was her, and I wanted people that didn't know her to really kind of see the light that she brought to all of us.
Terrific. Now, I understand your daughter was disabled. She had MS and several other types of difficulties. What are some of the things that you remember that brought you the most joy from your daughter?
Oh, well, she didn't have MS. She had cerebral palsy, and
Okay, sorry.
that's okay. And learning disabilities. She was just a very sweet spirit. She had a very sweet spirit. I'm sorry, I keep moving out of the camera. She was just a gentle, sweet person. She liked to laugh. She loved people. She loved her family, and so she was just a joy to have around.
I bet she was. Now, when you took her out, how did the rest of the world react to her?
She really we have a really huge extended family, and they all pretty much live close by. So she had lots of cousins, aunts and uncles, and our whole church community really enjoyed her when we would take her to church. She loved the music, so she would always kind of, to the best of her ability, participate. It usually came out as kind of a yell or a scream, but everybody in church would smile and knew Suzie was in church, when they heard her singing along to the music. So she was very well loved in the community.
Well, that's terrific, because I know back in the 50s, they didn't have that type of compassionate understanding.
Right.
And they had a habit of either ignoring you altogether or putting you away somewhere because they figured that was the easiest for you as the parent and for the child. But
Right.
I often wondered, and I know that the Amish and Mennonites used to do that then as well, but they don't do that anymore. So when you wrote your book, I know you wrote it from the heart. Did you trace her development as she got older, or did you just put down stories and memoirs about her?
Actually, it's a children's book, so it's really just impressions that I had. She really wasn't able to communicate except just by her facial features and just very, very basic, communication. She never did really speak. And so one day I was just thinking about the fact that I always made all of her decisions for her, about what she was going to eat, what she was going to wear, where we were going to go, everything, and I just thought to myself, I wonder if she ever is upset or sad that, that I'm making decisions that maybe she wouldn't have made, even about the simplest things in her life, like what color shirt she was going to wear, or what she was going to have for dessert, and that kind of thing, just basic things. And so that's kind of where the story came from.
Terrific. Do you have the book with you?
Yes, I do.
Why don't you hold it up?
Okay.
So they know what the cover looks like in the camera. Up, 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 up. More this way. That way. There you go. Okay. Very good. So they can see what the cover's looking like. Terrific. And let's show another illustration that your daughter drew so they can see how well she did it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh.
Uh-oh. This is one of our favorites.
Yes, that is terrific. So when you wrote it, then you wrote it very simply. What's the age of the kids that you have in mind to teach?
Well, it's really funny. It's really affected a lot of people. It's affected the adults as much as the children. I know my husband coaches girls basketball at the high school level, and he took it in and read it to his the girls on his team, and he said they really loved the book. So I think it has, my hope for the book, it was that that classmates, especially of disabled children, would look at them as a friend. And sometimes they're a little shy to come up to a child in a wheelchair, or someone that isn't able to play with them or even talk to them, and so they'll just hesitate. So there's a page in the book where I say, Suzie, children would often come up to Suzie and want to talk to her or play with her, but since she couldn't play, they would run off and play with other children, and that made Suzie sad. So I just wanted to for the children to see their disabled classmates as potential friends and someone to
I think that's a great idea. When my son went through the Vanguard system down in Houston, they made it mandatory for half the school was for the bright and gifted kids, but the other half were for kids who were disabled, who were blind, who were deaf, who couldn't walk, were in wheelchairs. And I really like that idea, because he grew up with the idea that everybody is the same, whether they can do one thing or not, and that you treat them with compassion and love. And I thought that was a great way to really raise children, no matter how bright they were, to also understand there are others out there that may not have everything that they had, but they were no less than their counterparts. It's too bad schools can't do that, because I really think it would give them a better understanding of the world around them.
Well, we've had some readings at some of the grade schools in our area, and the book's been really well received by the children. They really seem to empathize with Suzie, and a lot of them, it's not always easy for young children to communicate their wants and needs to, the adults in their lives either. And so I think some of them kind of understand that, they get frustrated too when they are not allowed to have a second cookie, or they have to wear something that they don't want to wear to school. So, we've been kind of surprised that they actually empathize with Suzie, in the book.
Well, I think too that they are kind of look at it, well, I could have ended up that way.
Maybe.
In some respect. You never know. Kids have, I have 3 grandchildren. I know you have grandchildren too. And the youngest one is 6. And boy, that kid intuitively knows how to go. He just goes over to strangers and gives some hugs.
Sure.
And I think kids intuitively know when another human being needs to be loved that way or comforted that way.
Right.
Yeah. And Joey, how long have you been doing illustrations or art?
Well, this was really my first big illustration project. I do have an education in design, but I mostly had worked with layout and type and actually like branded environments before. So this was really my first test, and it was a big test. And you are challenged to draw your own sister. So it took me longer than we both would have liked, but I think it really came out nice, and we really took the time to do it right.
She really captured Suzie's mannerisms and her facial expressions, and she wanted to make sure that, she was a cute little girl, but also that you could tell that she had some disability. So I just think she did a super job.
Well, from what I can see, it looks really, really good. Are you planning to do more illustrations with your mom when she writes some other books?
We'll see. She's got some dreams going on, so we'll see.
Oh, I know about dreams. It takes a long time to achieve them sometime. You don't always get instant gratification.
That's true. That's true.
So have you gotten your books then into the schools?
Go ahead.
Or homeschooling?
Oh, yes. We have, shared our book with some of the teachers at some of the schools and have asked them to share it. And like I said, we've had some book readings, even with the life skills class at our high school. I went in and did a reading for that group, and they loved the story. There are a lot of wheelchair bound children, and, I shouldn't say children, they're young, teenagers. And, and they really, and actually we've had a really good response from parents, especially parents of disabled children. They really have been touched by the book. So, anything we can do to encourage other moms and dads, that are going through that whole journey.
I think it's a good idea, because there really wasn't that much support for
Right.
parents or grandparents who have disabled kids. A lot of them were ashamed of it. Some of them try to hide it. And I think it's a good thing to bring it out of the closet
Right.
and to have them look at and say, my child is still a child, and he and
Right.
she deserve whatever child they can have until they either stay with us or they pass away.
Right.
But that's the role of, well, that's how I look at a role as a parent, that you're going to make your child's life as good as you possibly can.
Right.
So I think it's really good. Now, do you plan on maybe writing a sequel to Inside Suzie?
I don't know. We'll see. We're just kind of trying to go through the process with this book. This was the first effort for both of us, and so we're just trying to kind of figure out, the whole process of getting it out to people. It's been well received here locally, but to take it out to further out into the world and let Suzie touch other people's lives is our challenge right now. So
where are you ladies located?
Go ahead.
We're in small town Illinois. We're about 30 minutes from Iowa and northwest Illinois.
Okay, I have a pretty good idea. I lived in Ohio for about close to 20 years. So,
Okay.
And I had a friend who lived in a small city about, I would say, 40 minutes outside of Chicago.
Okay.
So
Very good.
I've been around that part. It's very
Right.
nice during the spring and summers. The winter
Yeah,
sometimes
it's nice.
gets challenging.
We're right close to the Mississippi River, so it's it's a nice area.
That's very nice. They have a boat now that goes churning down the Mississippi River, taking you to all the different places.
Right.
So, Ginny, and Joey, please tell everybody where you can find Inside Suzie. And if you have a website, give them the link, and on Facebook and every place else, so they can come and go and get your book.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at, I think it's Inside Suzie Book.
Okay.
And our website is InsideSuzie.com, and you can get to the Facebook page or the Instagram from there as well. You can find the book on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble online and some select Barnes & Noble stores.
And you can actually order it right from our website too. Aren't there? There's tabs on
well,
there.
You can click, you can click and get to those sites from the website. So if you just go to InsideSuzie.com, you can find all of those things.
Yeah.
Great. Do you have anything additional to add before we close up? Anything you want to brag about?
Oh boy. What do you want to brag about?
Do we have a list here?
I'm just really, really excited to have this little book to remember Suzie by. And our hope is that God will use it to touch hearts and encourage parents. And so, if anybody has.
And really, some of this you've kind of touched on and gotten close to, but I wanted to say that we'd like to show people too that people like Suzie have a lot to give, and it's not just that they deserve to be treated with love, but they have so much love to show us and so many lessons to teach us, and that's kind of what we hope for people to get
right.
to.
And I've said for a long time that Suzie was exactly the person that God created her to be, and she was just a joy and a blessing in our lives. So she taught us so much about loving.
So we'll just brag about Suzie instead of ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I think people need to realize that when special children like that are born, they're not takers, but really are givers.
They are.
Because they really expose you to the holes in our society and culture that really need to be exposed and to see the light. So I think that's just terrific.
Yep.
Mom, Grandma, that you wrote a book about it and honored your daughter that way. And Joey, that you did the illustrations, because I really think that's all. I have a son who does that for a living. So
cool.
Yeah. So it is a labor of love, and it takes a long time to get the right type of picture drawn to convey the feelings of what has been written.
Right.
People don't understand that's very difficult. You just don't stick 2 eyes, a nose, and a smiley face on a round circle and then add some sticks that are supposed to be arms and legs.
Right.
There's a lot more, because you want to not only show what your mother is saying, but also to express it as you do the art. And that's the really difficult part. Well, ladies.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Well, like I said, I raised I'll just say this. I raised a gifted and talented kid who was born with a pencil in one hand and an ink block and a pen on the other. He drew ever since he was, like 1 year old and stuff. So, and he was different enough for him to be on the wrong side sometimes because the kids didn't understand him.
Right.
And
well, I knew this was pushing Joey a little bit outside of her comfort zone, but she just did a spectacular job. And I really wanted someone to illustrate it that knew Suzie and loved her so that she could really catch the essence of her spirit.
And that's important. And Joey, please keep up with your art because it really is nice. And having raised an artist, I do know that you got the expressions because that's the body language. Right. As you well know. And so the body, even if a kid couldn't read and they just looked at your pictures, they would still pick up on the story and know that there was something very fragile and delicate being said, but at the same time, really giving a strong showing of what Suzie was capable of doing.
Correct.
And that's what art is all about, isn't it? Is that somebody can pick up a book and look at an illustration or go to the museum and look at the picture and know exactly what the emotion is that person or people are experiencing.
That's right. Yeah. You got it.
And it was really an exercise in perseverance because I just kept telling her, you're doing a good job. Just keep at it. Don't give up, And so finally got it finished. And we're very proud.
Congratulations. I mean, I really enjoyed looking at the book and enjoyed looking at the illustrations because the two complemented each other as if they were holding hands. And that's what you want.
Okay.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen and children of all ages, you can see this interview, Cool Your Heels with Ginny and Joey, all over again over at youtube.com/PWR network. Also on Facebook.com/Lillian Caldwell 35. I've got to get this right, and on Twitter and on the website. So you can hear it. And if you would like a transcript of the video, because we can separate the audio for the video, please contact our station manager, Jeannie White, at theconnectshow@gmail.com. And before everyone goes away and stray, a little something from Marcel Proust in 1990. Less disappointing than life, great works of art do not begin by giving us all their best. Thank you all very much for listening. And remember, stay tuned for the next video. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Let me in the, okay. Now,